Nothing doing for the Phillies offensively. One of the main reasons they did not win this series. We'll talk about that as we welcome you here to Phillies Postgame Live, brought to you by Curado Insurance. Amy Fiddle and Ben Davis. We're going to hear from Rob Thomson. We're also going to go back out to Colorado and check in with Ruben Amaro Jr. But you're talking about an offensive output that really just didn't do much first game or this game. And really, aside from the ninth inning last night, any of these three games, Ben?
Yeah, if you had a snapshot of today's ball game above it, it would say, wah, wah, wah. Not a whole lot going on in this ball game. You take a look at it, just 5 hits for the Phillies, and Ranger Suarez didn't have it early on. He found it later on. 4, 5, and 6 for him were outstanding, and retiring the last 13 hitters that he faced. But overall, Phillies bats just, with the exception of the ninth inning last night, Phillies bats were silent. Yeah,
it was actually kind of coincidental and maybe just strange that Ranger Suarez seemed to calm down after the comebacker almost took his head off. I don't know what happened, but he was fine after that. He really mowed down the batters after that, but unfortunately just not a lot of offense. Let's check in with our Ruben Amaro Jr., who joins us from Colorado. And Ruben, you and Tom were talking about it, the 15 series they had not lost since April 1st through 3rd. That's the second series of the season, last time they lost a series. What was the deal with the power outage? What do you think it was in this one?
Really not sure, Amy. And baseball's an amazing thing. You just never know what you're going to get from day to day. And it was one of those things where you would think with the matchup, the fact that this was one of the worst pitching staffs in all of baseball, and the Phillies being one of the best offensive teams in all of baseball, the recipe for success for the Phillies, but it just didn't happen. You got to give some credit to Quantrill today. He threw the ball very well. You mixed in a lot of those splits, stayed out of the middle of the plate, and the Phillies could not take advantage of some of the mistakes he made. And again, you have to give the Rockies some credit. Again, their bullpen just not very good, but they held other than one inning in the ninth last night, they held the Phillies in check.
Ruben, early on, Ranger Suarez made a concerted effort to throw that cutter, and he threw 15 of them. He only got 8 swings, no swings and misses, but he just kept throwing it and throwing it. It's easy to be Monday morning quarterback, but if a pitch isn't working, you have to move on to something else. Then he started to throw his curveball a lot more and his changeup a lot more effectively. Then it started to work for him, but he kept with it for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, he just was trying to get a feel for it, and he really could not. I mean, it's just one of those things where maybe a little stubborn at the end, but he made the adjustment and did a good job of keeping the Phillies in the game, much like Aaron Nola did last night. Unfortunately, those 4 walks, I mean, they did them in, and it's as simple as that. I mean, anytime you have 4 walks in one inning, you're going to put yourself in a really tough spot. And that's what happened. And unfortunately, as you mentioned before, Ben, 3 of those walks did score. And here in Colorado, you just cannot give free passes up because there's just too much vast space out there to get too many to get hits. The Phillies didn't take advantage of that in this series, but the Colorado Rockies did in this situation.
Well, it's on to the Giants. We know that they swept the Rockies earlier here. They also swept the Giants rather when they were here. What are you expecting as a bounce-back series for the Phils starting tomorrow, Ruben?
Well, they got Blake Snell, who hasn't been throwing the ball all that well, but it's tough to win out in the West. I know they did a good job of it their first time out there, but again, they got to try to just keep grinding it out, one game at a time, and hopefully they get a solid performance from Taijuan Walker tomorrow to start things off.
It'll be one to watch as they start anew in San Francisco. Safe travels, Ruben. We'll see you in a bit. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Rube.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.
See you in a bit, as in 20 hours from now, Amy. So you mentioned it. Ranger Suarez did settle down 4, 5, and 6, but 1 through 3 as far as the first innings in this one. Just not sharp. What were you seeing from him exactly?
Just no finish on his pitches. He wasn't throwing particularly hard either. A lot of fastballs, 2-seamers at 90, 91. He did get up to 92, 93 on occasion, but just not the life. No finish. I guarantee you, McMahon has watched a lot of film. Ranger throws a lot of 2-seamers into lefties, and McMahon was cheating. That was a first pitch sinker off the plate, way off the plate. And he was able to barrel it and hit it out for a 2-run homer. But these walks, they just kept coming back to bite Ranger, and you can't do it. You just can't walk people at Coors Field. And again, it came back to bite him. Those 4 walks, 3 scored, and he just didn't have any finish, and it got to a point where I think he just got ticked off, and he just ended up being a lot more competitive within the strike zone and challenging guys a lot more. And you know, it's a little too late, too little, too late. And you know, but you like to see him settle down. He ended up throwing 100 pitches, 61 for strikes, and to at least give them 6 innings, because early on, I mean, they had Kirkering up in the 2nd inning, Amy.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, okay, well, this is an ill-advised throw here by Alec Boehm, and that's 5 runs, and only 4 were earned for Ranger. That was because of that misplay right there, and Tovar came all the way around the score. It was just very un-Ranger-like in today's ballgame.
Yeah, I mean, here's a guy that was his ERA, you can see there, goes from 1.36 to 1.75, still a sub-2 ERA. It is his first loss of the season. He got a no decision to start things out at the beginning of the season against the Braves. He had won 9 consecutive starts. First pitcher in Phillies history to do that since Robin Robertson, 52, with consecutive starts. But he does not get the win today. He takes the loss. But this is after he actually took a ball almost off of his head. He got down in a hurry on that one, and then he really settled down.
Yes, he did settle down. That changeup and the curveball combination. I like the fact that he was throwing the curveball, and then he followed it up with a couple changeups, because after a breaking ball, I mean, you see something come out of a hand straight, you're thinking, okay, he just threw me an off-speed pitch. There's no way he's going to double up, and you see it, and you think you react fastball, and it never gets there. That's a good combo. I always like calling that combo with guys that could do it at the big league level, and Ranger, that changeup kept getting better and better as the game went on. But again, too little, too late.
Here's what you were talking about. The first 2 innings, 3 hits, 4 earned. Innings 3 through 6, you can see the 7 strikeouts, no walks. Yeah, walking 4 and just in the first 2 innings really came back to bite him.
Yeah, and you notice only 4 groundouts today for Ranger. Mm-hmm. That is very uncharacteristic of him. And that shows me that he didn't have that good fastball command, especially with the 2-seamer down in the zone to induce that weak contact. So 4 groundouts. 3 flyouts to go along with the 9 Ks, how he recorded all his outs today. But you'd like to see a few more balls on the ground.
Yeah, amongst those 9 strikeouts, he retired 13 straight. That's how he finished this one. So hopefully a sign that it was just a little of a shaky start. Unfortunately, the offense unable to pick him up. Let's check in with Rob Thomson out in Denver.
Difficult place to come win a series, even when the records are what they are.
Yeah, it seems like we've had trouble here for a while. But we won the series last year, but they play well here.
Ranger, what'd you see from him early on?
Just early, you know, he couldn't find the strike zone, especially with secondary pitches. And then 3rd inning, he got it, found it, and he cruised. He was really good at the end of the last 4 innings. I was telling Chris, the last 2 nights we've had pitchers with 30-pitch innings, and they get through 6. And you don't see that very often. Usually that's a 5-inning game at best. So those guys are grinding. They figured it out. So.
Do you think the conditions played into him not having command, or was it just one of those
I have
days?
no idea. I would chalk it up to one of those days.
Did he make any adjustment around the 3rd inning to kind of bounce back?
Yeah, I don't know what they did mechanically or anything like that. I think he just went out there and found the zone and started landing his curveball and his changeup, and pitched really well after that.
Was he a little understandably kind of shaken up after that line drive? I don't know how we got away from that.
It looked like it, but he came right back and threw strikes. So, you know, a lot of times you see pitchers that get hit with line drives, when they get one right by their head for the next couple of pitches, they're kind of recoiling because they're thinking about another one. So.
What was tough about Quantrill today? What did he do well?
He just kept us off balance with the split and changeup, no cutter, threw strikes for the most part. He pitched pretty well.
What happened on that one challenge, I guess, where Marsh was caught stealing second? Was just like a little confusion as to whether he won?
Yeah, well, we had an angle early that said challenge, and then so I went and challenged him right at that moment. They showed another angle popped up, and it showed that he was out. So we can't go back.
Right. So as soon as you make that signal, right?
Yeah.
Off the bat, did you think the McMahon homer was out? It looked like it kept on carrying.
Yeah, he hit that pretty good. But I thought maybe it'd get off the wall.
You mentioned guys getting through 6. I mean, pretty important with Turnbull going last night, just to get that
Sure.
length out of the starter.
Yeah, no doubt. For the most part, we'll have a full bullpen tomorrow, so that was huge for Ranger to give us some length.
What did you see out of the at-bats throughout this series? Kind of like a weird...
Yeah, just a little bit weird, right? I mean, you come in here and you think because of the thin air you're going to score a bunch of runs and hit home runs. We didn't have any slug today, so just one of those days, one of those weekends, I guess.
He did strike one guy out, but Sir Anthony, he's been a lot better in May from a numbers perspective. He's not striking as many guys out. He's even walking more guys. Is it kind of, have you guys been kind of telling him to go ahead and, you know, pound the zone, and because his stuff's so good, he can kind of play there?
Yeah. The last 2 nights he's been outstanding. That's the guy we're kind of looking for, and I'm really encouraged by his last 2 outings.
Yeah, I liked his stuff. He was very competitive.
Here's what we mentioned. There's those 98 pitches, 5 Ks, just the 1 walk, 2 earned, 3 hits. Not a lot of doing against him. Is that something, you know, he's obviously used to playing there. That's his home ballpark. But a guy to have a 3-something ERA there is pretty impressive.
It's very respectable to have a 3.53 in 11 starts. I mean, it's a big enough sample size. And, you know, it's a park where you can't be scared to pitch, because the bottom line is things are going to happen. You're going to give up Texas Leaguers, that's a no-brainer, and you're going to give up home runs, that's another no-brainer. But I like the fact that he attacked the hitters today. He had a very good game plan, he stuck with it, and he was able to live at the top. Sometimes that sinker would flatten up, it would almost be more like a 4-seamer, but then he'd also be able to run it underneath the hands of the righties, drop that splitter in there at will. He was good today, and I don't like to give opposing pitchers a lot of credit, but he was good.
Sometimes
so tip my cap to him.
Yeah, you got to tip your cap. Well, Brandon Marsh, Phillies only had 5 hits. He had 2 of them. Here he is in the clubhouse.
It's kind of a ballpark where, you know, you can throw the records out. It seems like it's always kind of a challenging place to play.
Yeah, big ballpark. We don't come here too often, so yeah, so it's a unique ballpark. Tough one for us today.
What did you just think about the weekend as a whole? You guys coming in here, you've been on a roll, a couple of...
Yeah, you know, it's just baseball. A lot of games to be played. I mean, they're a big league team for a reason, so they did their thing. We just got to be better going into San Fran.
What do you think of just Ranger being able to settle in there after the first couple innings?
Yeah, you know, he found his groove after the first 2, and he did his thing. Just as an offense, we got to try to get him a little bit more.
How impressive was it for him to, even after that comeback came at him, he kept throwing strikes?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I'm not a pitcher, but you get off to a tough start, it's hard to get back on track, and I feel like that's just with anything. But, yeah, I mean, it's just credit to Ranger and what he can do out there, and, yeah, he locked it and gave us a chance, and, you know, we'll battle another time.
What did you think of Quantrill's stuff today?
I mean, Quantrill, he's good, man. He did his thing. He stayed around the edges, got some weak contact, and got some balls hit right to people. And you know, he's, I mean, the dude can pitch, so he did his thing today.
The Ranger is, and as I mentioned, he really settled in after that. Let's go check in with Ranger Suarez and his interpreter, Diego Daniello.
Take you a little while today to feel for your pitches.
Sí, los 2 primeros innings no tenía control de la curva, el cambio, entonces la recta no me estaba cayendo en strike y ahí se fue el juego. Yo creo que ahí, en esos 2 primeros innings se fue el juego. Cuando vine y traté de hacer el ajuste, que lo hice, ya el juego estaba ya estaban los 5 abajo, entonces nada, eso fue.
First 2 innings I didn't have command of my changeup or my curveball, and my fastball wasn't going for strikes either, so I think that was the game right there. When I finally was able to adjust, which I did, we were already 5 down, so the game was open at that time.
Have you experienced that before in this ballpark, or do you think it might have just been one of those days for you?
¿Te ha pasado esto anteriormente o tú simplemente crees que esto fue un día malo?
No, yo un día malo, bueno, los 2 primeros innings. Y yo siento que después de los 2 primeros innings vine con la curva, empezó a trabajar el cambio, entonces mezclé más mis picheos y me fue mejor.
I think it was just a bad day, bad couple of innings, because after we made the adjustments, my curveball was working, my changeup was working, and I could mix my pitches better. So.
What adjustments did you make?
Pienso que los 2 primeros innings fueron, traté de ser muy fino. Yo creo que traté de ser muy fino y no me estaban saliendo las cosas. Ya después del 3er inning empecé como a a soltar la bola y ya eso yo creo que fue eso.
The first 2 innings, I think that I was trying to be too sharp with my pitches, and things were just not going my way. And after that, I just adjusted and tried to throw the ball instead of doing too much with my pitches, and it went well.
So more like mental kind of?
Posible.
Was it maybe Coors Field? Were you thinking about the altitude or anything like that? I know you pitched here once before.
¿En algún momento tú pensaste que era por el
No.
estadio? O sea,
No, solo fue mal día. Obviamente salgo a competir todo el tiempo. Hoy no se dio. Pasar la página, mañana ir a competir de nuevo como lo hemos hecho durante la temporada.
I just think it was just a bad day. Obviously, we go out and compete all the time. Sadly, it didn't happen for us today, but we're gonna turn the page. Tomorrow, we're gonna go out and compete as we always do, and try to win.
We're really glad you're alive after that line drive that came back at you earlier. What was that like? That 110 miles an hour. If you
Estamos
didn't know.
contentos de que tú estás bien después de esa línea hacia ti. ¿Cómo fue ese sentimiento cuando te salió esa bola?
No, hasta yo estoy contento de estar aquí hablándoles a ustedes ahora mismo. No, es parte del juego. Le di gracias a Dios por un día más de vida.
Even myself, I'm very happy to be well and healthy right now at this point. It's a part of the game, but I definitely thank God after that play to go out and end up being well.